Melissa. I'm a front-end dev, designer, developer, and I'm just going to walk you through the very most basic things you need to get going on the web. Quick tools, quick tips, and some of it's not so quick. Some of it's a little faster than others. The phrase, I didn't know this until I looked this up for this slide. The phrase from scratch originally referred to the starting line of a race scratched into the ground from which all runners would be starting without a head start. Learn something new every day. If that's all you take away, great for you. It's really important to pick the right tools for your work. Like a runner wouldn't use shoes that are too big or too small, or heavy workout gear to run in the summer. You need to identify kind of your scope of project and the right tools to go along with it. So we're gonna kind of talk about starting where you are, but knowing where you're going as kind of your foundation for development, basically. One of the things, like, I was really thinking about this, and I was like, even as a very seasoned developer, I've been doing this since 2008, and it makes me feel really old every time I think about that. That's a lot of time. I don't want to think about that. But like, I still really have to like pay attention to my physical space. Like, even before I touch the code, even before I find like what kind of tools I'm doing, like technically speaking, I'm paying attention to my physical space. So I am looking for an environment that I can continue to maintain my focus, eliminate distractions, lights, sounds, smells. Oh my, I live with like boys, even the dogs are boys. I work at home, smells are a thing, you know? And so whenever you're kind of out and about, and if you're working from a coffee shop, if you're working from your house, if you're working in an office with a lot of other people and you're in a cubie, you have to figure out how can you, like, what audio devices do you need to help put on those sound barriers so people aren't, you know, if I've got my headphones on, very physical headphones on, and I'm looking like this, people aren't messing with me. But if I've got my earbuds in, friends stop by to say hey, and you like lose track, and it's frustrating and it's hard. So thinking through all of those things and setting yourself up for success, like at the sitting down level is really helpful. I just have like a little scentsy candle thing going on in my office at the house, just because for whatever reason that puts me in my zone. Considerations like laptop versus desktop, if you've got to be mobile, if you need more power than your laptop can provide, depending on what kind of work you're doing. Those are all considerations. Keyboard considerations. I cannot type on one of these very well. I need my keyboard, and I love a mouse. Trackpad is a whole nother vibe that is, yeah, frustrating sometimes, or love it, hate it. It's mobile. It goes with you if you've got your laptop. So then we get into kind of the more of like the tech side of things of getting started, which include you need to define your IDE. Like, so what tools are you going to be writing code in? And for me, it actually changes based on a lot of the work I'm doing. Sometimes I need PHP, sometimes I reach for HTML, CSS, sometimes I reach for something like CodePen and just playing with a little component piece. So not every task needs a big heavy lifter. And so we're going to kind of talk about that just a little bit. You also need to consider web hosting domains and any sort of FTP software to get your code out into the world. And then an organization system to keep it all together. Goal-oriented tech. So one of the things that I always have to kind of remind myself is that thing that I just said, not every tool needs the heavy lift. Not every project needs the heavy lifting tool. So having your end goal in mind when you want to start is really important. Multi-page website with a blog. I'm leaning into WordPress, and I'm using my IDE as PHP Storm. I've got an Apache server. I'm FTPing stuff, different things like that. If I'm looking at a single page static site, maybe I'm just gonna go with my nice and light Visual Studio Code, easy peasy, no server-side craziness needed, and I'm just writing in simple HTML, CSS, presentational JavaScript. Sometimes I'll just even spin up a little HTML project in CodePen, which is kind of fun to play around with if I don't want to even go to the trouble. This is like the lazy girl way of doing it. But if I don't even want to open Visual Studio, I just go out to CodePen and I'm like, out here, and I don't even have to think about it. It's great. E-commerce storefronts, Shopify, WooCommerce, which is integrated with WordPress, and then the IDE for that, I would use PHP Storm. Multi-page dynamic mega site kind of content stuff. You know, a lot of that you can do really, you know, you can do some of that stuff in Visual Studio Code depending on what language you're utilizing for, you know, you may need something a little bit more robust. And it really depends on your language and the CMS you're attaching yourself to, or like you're kind of working through. If it's a PHP-based system, or if you're looking into something more like React or a Python-based or anything like that. Quick spin-ups. So these I don't really work with a whole lot, but they're great for just getting an idea out into the world. Like if you're just starting with, I've got an idea and I just need a spin-up, I'm just going to do a quick Squarespace situation. That does come with a cost, or a little flag on the side that says it's free, which is also fine. No judgment. The domains and the web hosting, the tools that I use a lot of times, I lean on Network Solutions. I do have a lot of stuff hosted on GoDaddy. Not hosted, sorry. I do a lot of domain purchases through GoDaddy. And I've just started like working with DigitalOcean for hosting, which is kind of an interesting experience. So language needs. These do impact your IDE directly. And sometimes, like for CSS, I'll write in less still. If anybody's been around in 2015, you know what less is. It's it's kind of a shortcut system for CSS, or not a shortcut, but it's a better way to write CSS. It's a preprocessor. So anyway, that needs a compiler and more support. So those kinds of things, just knowing kind of what your system's going to need based on the languages that you're using, that has to get pulled in as well. Localhost versus cloud-based systems, a lot of places you can just start like kind of spinning up stuff on the web now, and it's kind of crazy, and that is a very different space than where a lot of us started, you know, early on, and where you had to have like your local host server and your Apache server on your machine to get everything up and going. And it's just really interesting to see kind of the way that like that choice and that selection kind of assist you along the way. Also learning tools. Free Code Camp gets a lot of good attention for a good reason. It's a great system. I recommend it for a lot of folks. Scrumbot, I like this one a lot. Because they have kind of a cool little video integration thing that's fun with their little editor. CodePen, I will oftentimes just spin up a little, if I just need like a section of code, and I just need to test whether or not I can make this thing spin around. I'll just do that in CodePen, just real fast, a little project, and it's great. Stack Overflow is never-ending list of questions and answers, always there for you. And then a lot of platforms they have, one of the ways that I judge a platform is by the community support, like from dev community support, as well as like what kind of docs come with the system, like dev docs. And if they can't document their system, then I'm probably not going to use it a lot. And then other devs, most devs are very happy to help, and I kind of like the policy that I kind of follow is Google first, try it myself second, maybe third, fourth, fifth, and then if I'm just stuck, then I'm like, hey buddy, help me out with that C++ there. YouTube videos, ChatGPT with caution, and I just put that with caution in there just because, you know, it gives and it takes, and it's, you know, just use that with caution. But then there's lots of great blogs, like especially for front-end tools like Smash Your Magazine and CSS Tricks. Those have been around forever. They're industry staples and they're pretty trustworthy. So you got the right tools, now what? We're off. It's time to hit the keys. So a lot of what's happening with the local host development, if you're going to build a local page, a single page with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, if we're just going to kind of take that line, those tools are really all you need to build a web presence from the very most basic sense of code. Everything that you see on the web is turned into HTML with CSS for styling and JavaScript to basically make the bones move. The CSS is the pretty stuff. It makes your girl look great. It's your lipstick. And your HTML is really kind of the structure and support of the system. It's important to write HTML semantically and support our accessibility needs in the communities like that we reach. Not everybody's using a mouse and keyboard to access the web. If you think about even just your phone and you're using it with your thumb and you're on the go and you're like, it's nice to have someone supporting you through that. The cascading style sheets is our CSS. There's different ways to write CSS. You can use Sass or less as a preprocessor. You can use vanilla CSS. Lots and lots of other options there too. And JavaScript, so for this purpose, we're just going to be considering JavaScript as presentational. We're not going to be talking about it in the sense of a JavaScript framework, which is a whole nother chat. And what I mean by presentational is that it's just checking buttons, it's checking form status, it's helping you animate, different things like that. For a single static page, I always start with my HTML. I write that first. Then I'll add my styling layer over the top of that, and then I go back and combine it with my JavaScript. And I don't know why I do it this way. It's always the way I've done it, and probably till I die will be the way I do it, because you just get in a habit and you go. I personally prefer to write my own HTML and my own styling. There are other ways to do that. You don't necessarily have to start with a blank space. I personally prefer that just because I'm old. But you can grab tools like Bootstrap and Tailwind, and there's lots of other infrastructure pieces that you can start with that offer boilerplate options to get off the ground. And as you develop and write more code, you will build your own systems for spin-ups to make that go a lot faster. When I'm building locally, I'll spin up a Git repo, and that will help me kind of track my progress. It'll help me kind of, I'll write my commits, I'll get my instances. And if I go a little too crazy with Lisa Frank, then I can walk it back as needed. Pushing projects can help share files across teams and keep your code pipeline clean. If you're a solo gal like me, it's just great to keep you organized. They have tons of resources on their site. GitHub does, Bitbucket does, and GitLab, thank you. There it is. And they're very well documented and super easy to use. Don't be afraid of them. Just practice. And if you write like a crazy commit, just make yourself laugh. It's fine. So web hosting. So this one's kind of tricky. And I was kind of, I alluded to this a little bit, like I've kind of switched over into this world of kind of looking at the companies that I'm using and trying to figure out like what makes the most sense for the work that I'm doing. Once you've got your space built and you're ready to share it, you've got to get your files onto a server. And that server has to live somewhere. And where that is really kind of up to you. And there are many, many options. You might know a local guy who's got a server who can host you, and that's great. If you don't know a local guy, there are lots of services that you can choose from, and they all have great marketing campaigns to solicit your business. What you can plan on is spending some money every month on this. And when you get into that, it's important to know kind of or anticipate your level of engagement and traffic, and that can affect how much you're charged every month, and it can also kind of affect user experience, like on the front end. So with that said, domains are the last piece that you need. Got to get a domain, and it's really hard to name stuff. So like when you're naming something, like I think it took me 3 weeks to name my dog, and like I think it's just really important that like one of the things that I run into across the world is people can't always read your domain. It looks like jumbled up mess. Like so if you look at this last one over here, it's like neonopal.com is what it's supposed to say, but if you read it, it looks like neonopal. So just keep that in mind as you're naming stuff. And then publishing, once you've got it all going, you may, depending on if you have like your domain provider and your hosting provider, if they're not the same, you have to connect them in order to get those things to play nice. You just usually will update your domain host with the correct name servers. Yes, thank you. Any questions? Ask away. Devs love to share their tech stacks. So if you have questions about what makes the most sense, ask a dev. They will tell you what they use, and they will be very happy to share their opinions. All right, I think that's it.